Oopsies. Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome to a brand new week. You know the rules. We start with a blank canvas. Let's paint pictures. Let's tell some football stories. We got top 5 talking points, and one of your favorites is back. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad. Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome back to the Highbury Squad. It's a brand new week. Here he is once again, my podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kev, Super Kevin Campbell.
Squaddies, good to see ya. Start of another week. Let's do this. And we've got one of the main men in the house. Let's go at ease, Squaddies.
Referee, welcome back to the show, and happy birthday to you. We hope you don't mind us telling everyone you just turned 40 again yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Have a hard paper round.
I have to say that lamb looked pretty delicious, no doubt about it.
It was fantastic. I don't say so myself.
Love it. Good evening to all the usual suspects in the house, and a happy Valentine's Day to each and every one of you. Happy love from Vinny, who played a lot of American football yesterday, and Vesper, who refused to give up her soccer ball on Super Bowl Sunday, Super Kev. And here she was being annoyed at Vinny for wanting to play American football when she was trying to get him to play soccer. They send their love to everybody. They wanted to share a very quick video just to prove that they were into the game. She tried to get the ball off him, Kev. It was a little bit tough, but there you go. Listen, I think Vinny there's playing a little bit like Gabrielle. Vesper, trying her best like Ben White. But we do have the ref in the house, and we're going to talk about some refereeing decisions. And of course, we talked last week about the Martinelli incident, but we have the ref here to tidy up an ongoing argument, Super Kev, that is all over our YouTube channel comments, is the letter of the law versus what happened. We've heard ad nauseum from a lot of folks about this, but we know the ref will help us break it down properly. So, referee, without further ado, what is your take on what happened with Martinelli?
Well, first of all, the reason why it's turned into a bit of controversy is because it's a very unusual incident. It doesn't happen often. I can't remember that I've ever seen that incident happen like that. I've seen 2 quick yellows. We had one with Arsenal this season. We've had one with Mascherano at Liverpool where he got sent off with 2 yellows in the space of 30 seconds at Old Trafford, given a separate yellow. So what was unusual about this was that the referee let play go on and then issued 2 yellow cards to the player for the 2 incidents. So I understand completely why people are sort of getting a little bit hot under the collar about it and maybe a bit mixed up, maybe not understanding exactly what's gone on. From a refereeing perspective, he has refereed what is in front of him. So he has correctly let the play go on after the initial foul, which he was right to do and should do. It's good refereeing. He's allowed the play to continue. Then Martinelli has created the second foul. Now, at that point, the referee, obviously, and I'm just talking about what the referee has done here, the referee has decided that those 2 incidents warranted 2 separate yellow cards. So in his head, he has refereed what is in front of him. Yellow card for the push, yellow card for the trip on the Wolves wide player. Now, if you take those incidents and separate them, and they happen at 2 different parts of the game, so one in the first half, one in the second half, I don't think, well, personally, I've watched it several times now. I don't think anyone really has a leg to stand on arguing that both incidents aren't worthy of a yellow card. I think both are. I think the first one, he pushes him. The second one, he stops the building of a good attacking position for Wolves. So in every game, they would be yellow cards for me. The controversy is whether he is allowed by the letter of the law to issue the yellow cards in the way that he does. And in my opinion, and looking at the rules, the laws, there's nothing to stop him doing it. Let's put it that way. He is entitled to issue the cards the way that he did. And in my opinion, as a referee, it might not be a popular decision, this, I actually applaud him for doing so. I think it's a brave thing to do. I think some referees would have just brandished one yellow and probably we wouldn't really be discussing it. Maybe some pundits would bring it up. But I think he's refereed it correctly. I think the player, there's an argument from people saying the player didn't know that he was going to get a yellow card. Well, I think he probably did know he was going to get a yellow card for the first incident. And as I said, if that's Kieran Tierney who brings down the Wolves player and not Gabriel Martinelli, in the same incident, 2 yellow cards are given. 2 yellow cards would be issued. There was a yellow card to Martinelli and a yellow card to another player. So for me, a referee should referee what's in front of them, not a context. And that's what he's done. And some referees would referee in the context. I have heard, whether you've seen any of the punditry around it, I have heard some absolute nonsense being talked, especially in the aftermath of the game. There was pundits, Rio Ferdinand, Robbie Savage, Michael Owen, discussing it, and it was unbelievable the things they were coming out with. And the problem is, people like Kev, who's in a position where people do take notice of them because they are respected ex-professional footballers. If me and Kev have a disagreement over something, I might not agree with him at the outcome, but I'll respect what he said because he's played the game. But when I hear Rio Ferdinand say that a second yellow card should be worse than the first yellow card, I had to stop and rewind it to see what he'd said. I was like, what? So the second yellow card has to be a worse offence than no, it doesn't. It has to be the same. It's a yellow card. It's garbage. So I've heard some absolute nonsense being talked. I understand, however, the way that some supporters would look at it. Totally get it. But for me, the referee, in my opinion, has handled the situation completely correctly. If he didn't allow the play to continue, he would have been rightly pilloried for stopping Wolves attacking. And then when Martinelli has brought the player down, for me, it's cynical. He knows what he's doing. He knocks him off his feet. It's a free kick and a yellow card.
Kev and Ref, this question's coming in from a lot of the folks in chat regarding
this was going to be my
So Kev, do you want to? Well. Yeah, is that what?
Yeah, about the actual throw-in looked to be a foul throw. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't even looked at, obviously, by the referee. I understand he didn't look at it because it happened so quick, but obviously that's what probably VAR is there for. So if it was a foul throw, then the yellow card, second yellow card, won't stand, would it, ref? If it was a foul throw, or would it?
Well, the problem with VAR is there is a little bit of a grey area here in terms of what they can look at, because it's not a straight red.
Yeah.
Second yellow, which makes it different. So if Martinelli did a reckless piece of play and took the player out knee height and he got a straight red for it, at that point VAR would look at the incident, and if it's brought to the referee's attention that there's a foul throw in the incident, then that would be looked at and they would be overturned and a throw-in would be given. In this instance, because it's a second yellow, they are not meant to look at yellow cards again. It's not in the VAR's remit. So it's a difficult one. But because it's ended up in a red card, again, I totally understand why people are going, because it makes a massive impact. Okay, Arsenal won the game, but if they'd have conceded or even gone on to lose the game like they did against Manchester City, it would be even more contentious, because then something has come into play that maybe was a little bit unjust against Arsenal. I also thought it could have been a foul throw, if I'm honest. But I don't think VAR would or should look at it according to the rules. I'm not saying they shouldn't. But in my opinion, I'd tweak the VAR rules anyway to allow them to look at things. There was a goal that's, you're not going to like this one either. There was a goal that Spurs conceded against Liverpool last season, where Roberto Firmino scored. The ball clearly went out of play off a Liverpool player. Liverpool got the throw in. Liverpool scored. Now VAR can't look at that. Which to me is ridiculous. A goal has been scored. You know, they should be looking back and looking at it. So I think VAR has improvements to be made. But I think in this incident, just based on the fouls, I think the referee on the field has got it spot on.
Ref, can I ask you a question on that one, what you just mentioned, before I go back?
Yes. Yeah.
Aren't all goals reviewable?
Yeah, they are. But what they say to VAR is they can't go back more than certain phases in play,
right?
And they don't look at everything, because their argument could be, well, what if that happens a minute before in the first? You know, where do you draw the line? So I totally understand why they do it. But when a goal, it was seconds, and when a goal is scored after that short amount of time, for me, VAR there should be common sense. And I know I probably repeat myself all the time on this show, because I go back to rugby union. We're in the Six Nations now, and if you watch the rugby union refereeing with the TMO, that is your blueprint of how it should work. There is no protection of the referee on the field.
Yeah, there's no grey area.
No. Yeah. And yesterday, sorry, was it yesterday or was it Saturday? In one of the games at the weekend, I think it was Saturday, I think it was Ireland, France. The referee and the TMO, the referee and the TMO were speaking to each other, and you could see that the TMO and the referee agreed, but the linesman officials didn't. They were giving the referee different instructions. The TMO spoke to the referee, and the referee completely overruled his linesman and went, "No, tell me what you think," to the TMO. And the TMO told him, and he went with the TMO's decision. We've got to be adult about it in football. And unfortunately, the rule makers, which I'm sure we're going to go on to in a bit about other decisions, we're not adults. We make life hard for ourselves. We make life complicated. And VAR was meant to come in to clean a lot of things up. And what it's doing is we're having discussions like this.
Well, let's bypass the VAR and look at the referee, because no disrespect to Michael Oliver, but certain decisions he makes, ref, in one game is different to another game.
Absolutely. Listen, I don't think there are many consistent referees, if I'm perfectly honest. I think the standard of refereeing in this country, I wouldn't necessarily have said has gone backwards, but I think it's not improved. Yeah. And I think VAR has actually contributed to that, because they have a backup now. In their mind, they think, well, you know, someone will step in. Someone will let me know if I've made a mistake or I've done something wrong. And it leads to complacency amongst the referees. And you're absolutely right, Kev. Referees seem to go into games almost with a blank canvas in their brains. They go into a game and they'll make a decision, and it doesn't look like they analyse or review or manage the decisions they've made in games. Look, we're all human. We all make mistakes. I always say the only person on a football field not allowed to make a mistake is a referee. So your £40 million striker can smash one over the bar from 3 yards, but if he scores 5 minutes later, no one remembers the miss. They remember the goal. No one remembers the referee's correct decisions. They remember the referee's incorrect decisions. But referees are not helping themselves, and the referee management team, for me, don't help the referees from what I can see, because there is a lot of inconsistencies. I could name 4 or 5 referees who I think are rank awful, if I'm honest. Some of them aren't fit. John Moss isn't fit. He's not fit. He shouldn't be refereeing Premier League football. He is not fit. He's up against some of the elite athletes in world football, and he is not fit. So how can he referee? Michael Oliver, completely inconsistent. There's a couple I quite like. I quite like Anthony Taylor. I think he gives what he sees, and I think he generally gets them right. But over Mike Dean's another one that, you know, almost seems to go off on a whim, you know, and tries to make himself the centre of attention and the superstar.
The cross comes up.
Listen, he's from the Wirral. You have to give him some allowances.
True.
If you're from Merseyside and you're supporting a team playing in white, you've got a problem. Anyway, but they don't help themselves, and I think they're hamstrung by the authorities as well. I don't think they help them enough, shall we say. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I know they get upset.
So,
Sophie,
go on, Kev, go on.
Can I ask the $1 million question to Ref? What would you have done, Ref?
I'd have given him 2 yellow cards. I genuinely think it's a.
That's the best. That's
fair.
the easy way to ask it. You know what I mean?
Even if it was a player from up north somewhere, you would give the 2 yellows.
Yes,
Okay,
I say
just checking.
I think there's 2 tests for it. Like I've said before, there's 2 tests for it. If it's 2 separate players or it's 2 separate incidents, are they yellow cards? I've looked at both of them several times. They are both yellow cards. Therefore, what I would have done, I would hope I'd have let play go on. There could have been an instinct to stop the game because the lad went down on the touchline, but he let play continue. He gestured that he was letting play continue. So that Martinelli defence, or people making a defence of Martinelli, saying he didn't know he was going to be on a yellow card, so he might not have done the second. I don't think so. I think Martinelli knew he was in trouble, which makes his second decision making very, very naive. It's a fault.
Ref, can I just say, as a player, you don't know you're going to get a yellow card. You're not actually thinking about, I'm going to get a yellow card for that. All you see is the danger.
But then on the flip side of that, Kev, the referee can't second guess that. He can't then, in his head, go, he doesn't know he's on a yellow card, so I can't give a yellow card. It's a yellow card.
No, yeah. Listen, I understand that. I can only speak from the player's point of view.
Yeah.
When he allows the throw to go on, the one thing in Martinelli's head isn't, oh, I'm going to get booked.
Yeah, maybe. Well,
one thing in his head is, I've got to get back because they're on a break.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I want to. I love that, and I hope a lot of listeners wanted a bit more clarification, and I think tonight that we got it. I've asked them to jump in with any questions they have about some of the other games because I wanted to kind of add on to the question of consistency, which is the biggest gripe for Arsenal fans, and I just don't think it's us. I think it's a lot of fans. We've had the conversation on this show before about respect and earning it, which doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just how it is. We saw Manchester United's Fergie team bask in the glory of refereeing decisions for many, many years. Liverpool have benefited from it a little bit too. Manchester City. This is what happens when you're the Dons of the Premier League. Like I said, it doesn't make it right. But it is a bit of the reality of the situation. We as a team have been known to be weak sauce, and then when we get a little strong sauce, we're kind of being punished for it too. Now, I don't want to play the victim here, but I do want to talk about the consistency, ref. And in particular, the first game I want to bring up is Manchester United from the weekend. Yeah. We've seen Harry Maguire rugby tackle players over and over again. We saw Fernandes, or Fernandes, however you like to pronounce it, literally, I don't know if he punched James Ward-Prowse, but he took a swing. So can you talk me through and help Arsenal fans understand the differences between the two and why some teams or players get away with it and we seem to be punished for it? How do you see it from the outsider-insider perspective?
I start on the Fernandes, or however you want to. I've got some names I could pronounce him with, but I won't. It's a family show. I don't know how he gets away with a lot of it, to be honest with you. He is one of those players that never keeps his mouth shut. I'd love to referee him. I would love to referee him. Not because he plays for Man United. There are certain players I would love to referee, and he is one of them, because I wouldn't even speak to him. He would be off that field in 5 minutes. The way he speaks to officials, the way he remonstrates to the opponents, the way he remonstrates to the officials on the sidelines, especially, linesmen tend to be weak. They should be putting that flag up and going, referee, come here, because you've got to have a word with him, or worse, because he keeps doing it. Every decision that goes against Manchester United, he waves his arms around, punches the floor, shows his frustration. He'd last 20 minutes for me, genuinely. And the thing is, unless referees do it and actually give them a red card or a yellow card, they will keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it until you start brandishing. I always go back to do you remember when there was 2 things they brought in and they never kept to it, which is typical football. They brought in 0 tolerance for swearing. They said, no swearing at the referee. Any swearing at the referee, mandatory yellow card. The next game, Wayne Rooney used the C word about 4 times that the camera picked up in one particular instance at a referee. Now, he got away with it. He didn't even get a yellow card. If he gets a red card there, I'll guarantee you, and Kev, I'm sure will back me up, Sir Alex Ferguson would be in training on the Monday going, we've lost you now for 3 games in a title running. Keep your mouth shut, or I will hit you right where it matters, in the pocket. I'll take 2 weeks' wages off you every time you get a yellow card. Because you can't afford to lose players in that manner, but they don't stick to it. They haven't got the backbone and they haven't got the spine. They also brought in a rule. The Canio's at West Ham, because I have an instance that's in my head, where they copied rugby for marching on 10 metres or 10 yards if they gave dissent to the referee. There was a game at Anfield, opening game of the season, where Di Canio got marched on twice. On the third one, he didn't even say anything. He just picked the ball up and marched it on himself, which was funny, but he didn't stick to it. Halfway through the season, they got rid of it. Players are allowed to carry on doing what they do. Bruno Fernandes is a serial offender. If I go back to Arsenal, if I touch on Arsenal, I'll tell you what Arsenal aren't. Arsenal aren't very streetwise. They are a naive team when I watch them in terms of how they sort of get into trouble. There seems to be a pattern around it. Okay, the Martinelli thing's slightly different, but there seems to be a pattern around it. And it's either, people bring Xhaka up all the time. Xhaka is, I think, this sounds really odd. I think Xhaka is quite an honest player. I don't think he's a dishonest player. I just think he's got a real problem with his technique. His tackling is awful. And it's like you put yourself in a position where, yes, some referees may get it wrong, and other players may not get sent off for the same thing, where the consistency comes in. But you can only deal with what's in front of you as that player, and his tackling is poor. It's poor.
We know that, ref.
Yeah, I know.
You know, ref. We say a lot. We say a lot on the show that we're bad at shithousery. You know what I mean?
Which is where you look at certain other players who play for other clubs. Somebody like Fernandinho at City, who's an absolute master of giving 4, 5, 6 fouls away in a game. He smiles politely. He shakes the striker's hand or the midfielder's hand. He rubs them on the head. He asks them how the wife is. And he gets away with it because he's just clever at it. He's at Liverpool. They're very clever footballers. Kante at Chelsea, very clever footballers. They get away with more.
Well, here's one for you, ref. In that Manchester United game, I don't know whether you saw it, Soph, but Paul Pogba was getting booked because he clipped the heels of a player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he got the yellow card and then pushed over an opponent right in front of the referee.
Yep.
So is that not a second yellow?
Second yellow.
So that's how is that possible? How does it?
It's possible because Michael Oliver got it right. The referee in the game, the Manchester United game, got it wrong, and this is your problem. Firstly, don't forget you are dealing with human beings. Let's not take away from the fact that people are human beings and can make mistakes. Number one, but it happens too often, and it happens too often in games. In the same game, you can see it's frustrating. You can see something given, a very similar incident happens just after. There's no explanation given. So I'm talking about the other code. I went to watch Warrington Wolves on Saturday with my daughter, and in that game, there was a red card for a Leeds player for a high tackle. You can hear the referee speak to the captain, and he clearly explains in very deliberate terms it was a clenched fist, direct contact to the head, swinging arm. That's a red. In the second half, a very similar incident happens with a Warrington player. Very similar. When it happened, I would say he's off. He gets a yellow 10 minutes in a sin bin. The crowd go mad. Now, when I watch it back on the TV, again, the referee's mic'd up. We can hear him. He says to the captain, his palm was open. It wasn't swinging arm. It came off his shoulder and hit the head. Therefore, it's not the same. It's a yellow card. And when you watch it, he's completely correct. And it's like, if we had that, if we had the ability to hear a referee go, this is why I have done this, we might still not agree with him. I'll tell you something, his accountability would go higher because everyone can hear his decision making. If you could have heard Michael Oliver the other night, I'm damn well sure Michael Oliver said to Captain Lacazette, was it? I'm sure he would have said to Lacazette, this is why, and you can agree with it or not. And then we'd have heard the same with Paul Pogba.
Ref, another one that, you know, we talk about, a lot of people are asking about goalkeepers and them getting, it seems they seem reluctant to give second yellows, but also believe it was the Liverpool goalkeeper who came out a couple weeks ago, took the player out
in the Cup, Kelleher.
Why was that not?
Okay, I think he's a lucky boy. I actually don't think it's a red, and the reason why I don't think it's a red is because he's gone to play the ball first and foremost. He hasn't gone to attack the opponent. Whereas if he had have done, if he was nowhere near the ball and connected with the player, that would have been a dangerous tackle and therefore a red. He didn't. He didn't connect with the player, and the Cardiff manager actually called it right because he also said it wasn't a red. And he said, I'm actually annoyed at him because he didn't stay on his feet and knock the ball around the goalkeeper and slot it into an empty net. Canate, the defender, was right on him as well. He was literally on the shoulder and the ball had gone way away from goal. So he wasn't even going to get there. Canate was going to get the ball. So for two reasons, that's not a red. What I will say is, if he does give a red, the keeper can have no complaints because he's put himself in a situation where the referee has to make a decision. So I don't think it was a red, but if he'd have given it, it certainly would have been overturned.
Okay, so at the weekend, Kev, I'm not sure if you saw the Watkins disallowed goal at Newcastle.
Yep.
Still, some fans and a few listeners have asked about the lines that they said they were brushing that up, ref, and it felt like that was pretty tight. Was unfair, the right decision? These lines again seem to be creeping in the latter part of the season. To me, it felt like that was a decent goal. Maybe I'm wrong.
We don't get the full breadth of the information that VAR are playing with. What we see is a snapshot. We see the line go across. There's an algorithm that goes into it, and the computer comes up with a decision that says onside or offside, which, by the way, is utterly, utterly ridiculous. So, in that instance, there's been a few this season. I think it's got worse. I think it's taken a step back. You know, last season we had the ridiculous ones with Bamford where he put his arm out and pointed, and the referee, the goal was given. The goal was chalked out because it was. I mean, you can have incidents where players are leaning, and you know, Kev, you'll know. So if you're up against, I don't know, if you're up against Diaz at City or Van Dijk at Liverpool, and you're the striker, your advantage against that centre half is that you can be on his shoulder. That's your advantage because you get that quick break forward. The ball gets played, you can go. To beat a player of that level, of that quality, you have to be level. You're not going to beat him unless you're absolutely.
Yeah, it's fine margins. It is so fine.
I just think we actually need to be brave again, and I keep using the same word. We need to say, unless there is a gap between the feet, unless there is a clear gap that I can see with my eyes, that between the feet, it's onside. The benefit of the doubt was always meant to go with the attacker.
With the attacker.
We watched the hardest thing. The reason why Kev got the big bucks back in the day was because he did the hardest thing in football, which is putting the ball in the back of the net. It's the hardest thing. That's why we all love it. What do we do when we score a goal? It's when your team
celebrate.
Scores. It's
Celebration.
The most beautiful thing on earth. And the reason why is because it's so bloody hard. It's not easy. That's why you get nil-nils. Take the Liverpool game yesterday. Jurgen Klopp was celebrating in front of the Liverpool fans today. He's got a bit of stick over it. He knows how difficult a wet, windy, freezing Burnley is. We're not going to go there and pass them off the park. We ground it out. We got the result. We come off. That'll be his favourite win of the season.
Well, it's like when we celebrated post-Wolves and Wolves got so salty. I do remember seeing Ruben Neves lifting his arms up, celebrating just a tad, Kev, after the victory at Shite Hart Lane.
At that gaff.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Liverpool scored with the last kick of the game at Molineux, and Divock Origi scored. The celebrations on the field were like we'd won the league.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not big anything up here. Arsenal went through the ringer in that game.
Yeah.
They were down to 10 men. They dug it against a good Wolves side. Look what they did yesterday. Okay, I'm sure you'll like that. But look what they did yesterday. That's a good, decent Wolves side who can play. They have got technically gifted footballers. It's not an easy place to go, Molineux. Yeah. And you went there, you got down to 10 men, you ground it out, you dug it out. Bloody celebrate.
Yeah.
Damn right. Well
They're
said,
trying to
Rep.
take the fun out of football.
Oh, and also, actually, just laugh at him because it says more about Wolves than it does Arsenal.
It's true.
Yeah.
True.
Definitely. Definitely. Okay, we've got a couple more to get you out on here. Brilliant stuff from the ref here on Monday Madness, our top 5 talking points. Wanted to ask you about Dawson's goal for West Ham in the dying minutes against Leicester. Did it come off his
upper arm or shoulder?
I don't know. But I tell you what they've done. Again, they've managed to do it again. If anything, they are consistent, these people, because they are deliberately trying to make life very, very difficult for themselves. And therefore, very difficult for the referees, and very difficult for VAR, and very difficult for us. Because the rule states, the guidance states that the ball should be above around where the shirt sleeve ends. And I'm like, what if your biceps are big? I've never heard anything like it in my life. It's like, who's decided that that's a thing? The ball yesterday hits Dawson. By the way, lads, in the FA, by the way, Premier League, just a point of order. It's a round spherical object. So it's actually possible for the ball to hit a little bit of each.
Yes.
It can hit both. It's not definitive. So you've come up with a rule that's not definitive. It's like, wow, well done. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ball to me. According to the rules that are there, I think if you're going to bring a rule in like that, it's got to be some of the ball. There's got to be. It looks like some of the balls below the arm. I don't know, Sophie, but just take it back to right below the shoulder line. Just take it to here and use your bloody common sense.
Yep. Agree. Okay, so going to get you out on this one. It's the most popular question that has come in, not only from the chat box, from our YouTube comment folks, and also our DMs and email. And they want to know from you is, do you believe, again, as an outsider looking in, there is a bias towards how the Arsenal are refereed?
No. Right, okay.
You're usually very popular on this show, referee.
Well, look,
should you put a caveat in that, Sophie?
You can, Super Kev, go on.
Compared to some of the other big teams.
I do think, okay, let me phrase this carefully before I have a witch hunt on my case. I'm going to say the unpopular thing first. I don't think Arsenal fans, and that's a sweeping statement, I know, and it's ridiculous. Some Arsenal fans help themselves in this situation because the driving. I hear it from Liverpool fans, by the way. I hear it from some Manchester City fans, which is ridiculous. But there you go. I'm Liverpool, ridiculous. That we should have had 1.5 penalties in the last couple of games. Mohamed Salah gets wiped out on Wednesday night's penalty, nothing given, not looked at, not given, and there was a potential one on Saturday. In some Liverpool players' heads, fans' heads, that means we've got a conspiracy against Mohamed Salah. He doesn't get penalties. It's garbage. I think some Arsenal fans don't help themselves with this, and they talk themselves into something going on when it doesn't really exist. Like most conspiracy theories, there might be an element of truth in there, or there might be stuff around the surfaces that might be right. But when you actually go down the route of it's all against us, no one else gets a bad decision, Arsenal get the bad decision. If that's Xhaka who's been off, that type of thing, I think it's garbage. I think Arsenal are hamstrung because they're not Manchester City and they're not Liverpool. And as you said before, those bigger sides, you know what I mean, the more successful sides do over the piece in history tend to get decisions going their way more. But what I will say is go back to what I said before. I think Arsenal are a naive team. I look at them. They're not very good, as you said, at being a bit snidey. They're not very good at the dark arts. They leave themselves exposed a little bit. They leave themselves in a position where a referee can take action. I go back to what we were saying before about the Kelleher thing. You know, if Kelleher got sent off, he put himself in a situation where it's his own fault. Granit Xhaka tackles the way he does. He flies in. It's his nature. I'm not sure how that's ever going to be knocked out of him. But when Granit Xhaka dives into tackles the way he does, that's not about who else would be sent off. That's about that individual position. And he does fly into tackles with his feet off the floor and allows the referee to make a decision. Paul Pogba got sent off against Liverpool for a very, very similar thing. So it's not just the bigger teams don't get away with it, but I think Arsenal don't get as many as the Liverpools and the Man Cities. But I think I think other clubs get stuff. I think other clubs get decisions against them where it looks an injustice. And we've just discussed 3 or 4 in this conversation where it's not Arsenal, But I certainly don't think there's a refereeing authority conspiracy against Arsenal, and I don't really know why. I read something on the internet the other day actually that made me smile, and it said everyone hates Arsenal. I can tell you something right now as a football fan who watches my club home and away and has done so for 40 plus years. I haven't got a bone in my body that despises Arsenal, and I don't know of any Liverpool fan. Maybe the internet has changed that, but certainly match goers and people who I hang around with and people I talk to, we don't hate Arsenal. We don't hate them. No, we hate other clubs. We don't hate Arsenal.
Yeah, I don't think it's the fans. I think it's media-based, journalist-based.
There's a bias. I think
there is definitely a
point,
bias.
Kev.
I had it when I played. George Graham was the first proponent of it from the 70s, where everyone was against them. That us against the world mentality. And it does galvanize you, galvanize the fan base, etc. But you've even said it yourself today. Arsenal are a young side. Yeah, they need to learn. They need to smarten up. They need to basically sometimes Xhaka needs to stay on his feet. We know that as a fan base. We do know that as a fan base. But there's certain things that happen to us that happen to other sides, and the outcome is different. That's what a lot of the Arsenal fans complain about.
But I'm not sure that's necessarily an Arsenal thing, and that's the point I'm making. So I think there are clubs. I think if you had a cross section of supporters here, and on heart, and everyone knows I'm a Liverpool fan, and on heart, I don't think we get it. I don't think we get bad decisions against us. I think
you get good decisions.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I
look at the penalty. You look at the penalty against Crystal Palace. I mean, come on.
Yeah, totally agreeing with you.
When do we get that, Soph? We never get that.
And here's the scoop, Ref, real quick. Let me just jump in so you can then, answer both, because I think where it really started for us this year in antagonizing us was when we cancelled our game. And that just blew up because it felt like everyone was attacking Arsenal when everyone else had cancelled a game. That's why things escalated and got out of hand and fans got very defensive. Go ahead and answer Kev's question too.
I go back to I said it at the time to my friends, and I'll say it again. And similar with Liverpool in terms of the COVID issues around the club when the semi-final got cancelled. Me, you, Kev, none of us here are privy to the discussions that were taking place between Arsenal Football Club and the Premier League and Liverpool Football Club and the EFL. None of us. We don't know what information was given, but I'll tell you, in this season of all seasons where we have a World Cup coming up, where we have a congested season, no chance, not a chance, would games be cancelled frivolously. Secondly, this is a health issue. This is a welfare issue. The football clubs are looking after their highly paid assets. And if they feel that those assets are going to be put in danger, take the Liverpool one. People say, well, they were all false positives and all this nonsense. At the end of the day, Liverpool closed their training ground the day before the semi-final. We could have sent a team down to Arsenal, and your lot could have contracted several cases of COVID, which then puts their family at risk and puts people around the training ground at risk. It's not as simple as cancelling a football game. The Premier League would never have cancelled Arsenal's game. Never, not a chance, unless they thought it was absolutely necessary to do so. And if football fans want to start throwing around brickbats and having a go at Arsenal for it and saying that Arsenal are doing this, that and the other because they didn't want to play Spurs, oh, fuck off. At the end of the day, it was the same thing thrown at us. We didn't want to play Arsenal. Fuck off. We just beat you 4-0 the other week. Well, it's not a problem, this. We might lose, but we can still win.
Rev, can I just say, I think the problem was you played the game at the weekend. You didn't play us on the Thursday, but you played the FA Cup.
I don't want to go back to this.
But you played the FA Cup game.
But
So-
I can't let that pass. I can't.
Okay, okay.
Hold on, just 1 second.
You've started, so you'll finish. Old mastermind
The rules are
style.
completely separate, different, totally
No,
different.
no.
The AFL rules-
I'm just saying. That's why.
That's why.
That's why there was the
Yes,
issue.
yeah.
I'm not saying. Listen. Liverpool
ridiculous.
Football Club have to do what's right for them. Arsenal Football Club have to
couldn't-
do what's right for them. It's that simple.
They couldn't have played a kids team in the League Cup.
Hey, I've got no problem. We done it against Spurs. We cancelled. I've got no problem with it. Ref.
There's no chance you're cancelling that frivolously. Not a chance.
No chance.
Not a hope.
Chance.
I don't think I've ever given the ref a card. It's a yellow for swearing.
Sorry. And
I
amazingly,
tell him so. If he does it again, you're.
Finally, Kev.
If you do it
be
again,
fair-
ref, you're off.
if you want to be consistent and you want to do what Michael Oliver did, I swore twice.
I'll give you
I
a
should've got
second one.
I should have got 2 yellows in the same incident. And that
Two
would have been a
yellows,
perfect.
get him off, so.
I'm off.
Oh, love it, ref. Love it, ref.
Oh my God, brilliant stuff. Absolutely.
Down now.
Yeah, you can. You can go for a lie down post birthday. Thank you so
Happy
much for
birthday
coming
as well,
on.
ref.
Brilliant
Thanks for
stuff,
coming on.
referee.
Appreciate you.
And
Message for you. I've got a message for you, Kev, by the way. Sorry, just before I continue, just allow me this.
Is he not off the pitch yet?
I work, you'll like this, I work with all Evertonians. All
Yeah.
of them. All rabid blues. They're very happy this morning, which makes a change. One of them, Ben, wanted me to say to you that you're his absolute hero and he loves you to bits and you're one of his favourite ever Everton players.
Oh,
along
thanks, Ben.
with another Arsenal player, Anders Limpar. But there you go.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks, Ben. Appreciate
Yeah,
you,
he's a
mate.
good lad.
Thank you very much.
well done, Ben.
Cheers,
well
ref.
done. Ref, you take care. We'll see you next time
Cheers.
where you will...
3 games you get. Three
games.
Sorry, one. It's
Only
one
got
game.
one,
It's
it's
one
two
game.
yellows.
It's one game. Oh,
2 yellows.
well,
damn.
apparently we could change the rules because that's football.
Let's make it harder. You don't get anything done.
Cheers, man. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, referee.
No
Take care,
problem.
mate.
Take care.
Thank you.
All the
Take
best.
care.
Bye.
See ya.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Lots of love. Bye. Great stuff from the referee once again, Kev.
Brilliant,
Brilliant.
isn't he? He's
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
He is
Really
brilliant.
good stuff.
Absolutely.
Let me help remove him from the pitch
Get
completely.
him off the pitch. Yeah, get him off the Bless him.
Kev, before we go, I can't leave the show without asking you how brilliant the results were this weekend without us even kicking a ball. Kev, go on.
Sophie, you know, we get a great result down at Wolves and people have a go at us for celebrating and stuff like that. But you know what, Sophie? We obviously go into the weekend and we're going with 3 points in our back pocket and we're watching all the other games. The early one was obviously Manchester United against Southampton. And Southampton have only gone and done us a favour again, haven't they? They've gone to Old Trafford, got a goal behind. And you know what, Sophie? Probably should have won the game if they were had a little bit more quality at the top end of the pitch. They really could have won that game. But do you know what? Sometimes just keeping that point is like a defeat for United. That's great. And then, Sophie, I've got to say, yesterday, oh my God, it was a figure of beauty.
It was pretty special, wasn't it?
I hope Evelston's in the chat.
You know what? It's so funny because Sid Ant isn't in today, and neither is Ethelston. And also, Kev, by the way, a lot of people, before you get into the Tottenham game a bit, a lot of people were predicting that Man United would beat Southampton 3-0, 4-0.
Yeah.
But we're not going to talk about the other big game that happened last night, but I tell you, that game yesterday morning, Kev, they're a disaster. What? They're a disaster.
Well, Sophie, if you remember correctly, on here, we were talking about the Conte effect. And he did make a difference to them winning games. They weren't convincing, Soph, but what he done, he got them going up front, didn't he? He really got them going and scoring goals.
They were unbeaten in 6 games, Kev, and they weren't playing that great.
But, Sophie, I've got to say, they are an absolute shambles at the back. They are an absolute shambles. That's why, even with a COVID hit squad, you remember? We wanted to play them because they ain't great at the back. They're all over the place. And Wolves battered them. I mean, let's be real. Wolves battered them. It probably should have been more. It should have been more.
I mean, I don't think it makes, everyone needs to be very careful, because I don't think that it automatically makes Conte a bad manager.
No,
you guys.
He's not a bad manager. He's a world-class manager.
He's in a bad situation. A lot like Ancelotti going to Everton and Benitez. That Everton team is a little bit broken, and Tottenham clearly are still suffering from the Mourinho years, the Nuno, that was a disaster. But my goodness, Harry Kane and Son, when they look as bad as they do, they've got, I mean, honestly, we should finish above this team. We really should.
I mean, you look at us, and Sophie, we are a baby side. We're such a young side. We are such a young, and you know what? I don't think people give what we're doing enough credit. Of all the young sides that play in the Premier League this season, the youngest teams, I think it's 11 or 12 of the youngest teams, are all Arsenal. We have got a baby team. And we know with young players, they can do that sometimes. But we've got to take some credit, guys. We've got to take some credit.
It was also interesting when Conte said after in his press conference yesterday, I thought it was indicative of what he truly believes of what he's inherited, which is it's a build up. They've got to rebuild. And he talked about patience. And similarly, football is cyclical. Look what's happened to Manchester United, right? Look what's happened to us. We were a mess, then we became a hot mess, and now we're an evolving team, right? Manchester United are just a mess right now. Tottenham are a mess right now. But also, Kev, we've got to be very careful, because like you say, on any given day, we got the North London derby coming. We're playing them. There's some big games coming up. City. Man United, we're all playing each other.
Everybody.
United beat us at Old Trafford when we really played a much, much better game. So I think we also need to be really careful that with 16 games left, that it's not over yet. But my goodness, talk about results going your way when those other teams also had games in hand.
Yeah, and Spurs have messed up their games in hand, haven't they? They've messed up. Obviously, West Ham drawing, with a probably a dodgy goal equaliser, but that's Leicester for you. Isn't it? That's Leicester. Leicester, for whatever reason, just don't seem to be able to get over the line, which suits us fine because we play them soon, which is okay. But Sophie, when you actually look at it and you look at where these clubs, a lot of people would much rather be in Arsenal shoes, because you know what? Look at the squad, look at the team, and we aren't deep. We know that. But what you're looking forward to is you're looking forward to adding pieces to actually make you better. Spurs have got quite a big squad there, Soph. And United have got a big squad of ridiculous talent. But it seems like they're going nowhere. And of course, they could hit the ground and they could hit form. Of course they can. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, this Arsenal squad, young that it is, are doing us proud, Soph. They are. They're fighting. They're in there with a shout. 16 games to go. We're in there with a shout. And
you would argue at this point, even though it's 16 games, right, Kev? Man United have Champions League. Who knows how long they're going to last in that? Chelsea have played a lot of football, right? But I think they'll be the team that finishes third. Again, you don't know what's going to happen with some of these results. Tottenham, because of Conte and him being there before, is he going to figure it out? But is he going to compromise the way he plays? Because he's very stubborn about the way he wants to play football, but probably doesn't have the personnel to do it, a little bit like Arteta when he inherited the team from Emery, and like Emery when he inherited the team from Arsene Wenger. So West Ham, though, they seem to find their way. I predicted that they would falter a little bit because that's what we've seen from the previous season. And they're playing in the FA Cup, Europa League, which is tough. That's a lot of football.
Difficult. But you see, that's to come, Sophie. All that's to come. FA Cup, that's to come. So, again, this West Ham squad's going to get stretched to the nines, aren't they? They're going to get really stretched.
Do you think that the table never lies, but do you trust West Ham? Who do you trust out of those three? Like if you're putting your money on United, Tottenham, West Ham? Because week after week, my mind changes.
Well, do you know what? For me, obviously, I look at Manchester United and I look at their talent level. And you've got to say, if they click, because it has to click at some stage, Sophie. It really does. We hope it clicks later than anything. But for Manchester United, I predicted they would be especially with the signings they made, they'd be challenging in that top four. They'd be challenging for the title. They haven't done that. They're still in and around it. But of the three teams, I've got to say I think Manchester United will be the biggest problem for us.
I do think like getting Paul Pogba back, I know that he blows hot and cold, but he's already made a difference. I know they've drawn their last two games, but you could tell already the effect that he has when he plays, Kev. Wolves, I don't see pushing further. You know, West Ham and Wolves seem to be like that season where Leicester was like, they can't win like that every week. They can't do it every week. And football never ceases to make you look like a fool sometimes when you predict things, right? But I don't see Wolves.
Well, we have to see them off again.
Yes.
See, I mean, we took life away from them, and now Spurs have given them life again.
Right.
Spurs have given them back life. So obviously, in a couple of games' time, it might all be a little bit different. But at the Emirates, we have to see them off. They done the double over us last season, so
yes,
we've got to do the double over them this season. If we want to get that top four, we have to do the double over them. Have to do the double over Leicester. Have to beat Brentford. These are so important. And you know, I made the prediction of 5 wins, Sophie, solely because I want Arsenal to win. But realistically, Sophie, I think we need to. We need to win. We need these next 4 wins, and then you go, okay, where are we? And you look around. I think it's really important for us.
Well, yeah, because we have Brentford has to be a payback. Wolves were kind of half paid back for last season. We got them at home where we feel very comfortable. And the reason why we have to, Kev, is because those other big games are coming. And we know, if we look at our history, yes, we've performed better, but even though we played our best game of the season against City, we didn't even walk away with that point. In the end, we got totally screwed and, you know, conceded late. We lose 2-1. So this is really, truly a cup final every single week. And it's, you know, a lot of people say... Go on, Kev.
Do you know what? I think the Arsenal fan base, as a fan base, we are going to be up for every game.
Yes.
We've got to be up for it. We've got to help these youngsters get over the line.
Yes.
You know, that's our job now, isn't it? To support that team and buoy them, give them that energy to win these games, because they are winnable games.
They are, because we've got Wolves, we've got Watford, then Leicester, and then Villa. You know, those, you know, in terms of the games that you've pointed out, Kev, you know, those are the ones.
Who's next? Brentford, isn't it? Is it Brentford?
And then Brentford, yes.
Yeah. We've got to win those games. It's that simple, Sophie. If we're serious, we've got to go on a winning run.
Yeah.
I don't want draws. I want wins. Because when teams draw, if you win and teams draw, it pushes you so far forward. It really does.
And now, Kev, I hate to say it's in our hands, but we win our games. It is. I mean, I say that because anything can happen in the Premier League, but truly on paper, it is in our hands right now, mathematically.
Yeah.
to get this done.
It is. It is in our hands. And do you know what, Sophie? There are many times where opportunities have come our way and we have absolutely messed it up.
Mm-hmm.
We win at Wolves, and look how big that win at Wolves is now when you consider the weekend gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it really does give us such clarity now. Whoever the next team is, we've got to Bruk the neck, Soph.
Definitely.
We've got to Bruk the neck.
Do. And that's Saturday, and that's Brentford. We've got to do some serious brucking. Speaking, and how can we talk about brucking and not show, like Super Kev doing the brucking, by the way. Here we go. Come on, let's do this, Gooners.
We owe them. We owe them, Gooners.
Also, 470 of you in live chat this fine Monday. There's little Prince Vince doing his thing.
Love
bless him.
Do a video.
Well done, Vince. Good boy.
Lovely.
And then real quick, I have a housekeeping issue. The AST have a charity drive. It's fan-led online raffles that are online now. Go to the AST Twitter page or website, and you will see a lot of great stuff that you can bid for. You can try and garner. It goes on all month. Any fan from all corners of the earth can enter. If someone overseas does win match day tickets, they'll have to make their own way on that front. But the AST are doing a lot to raise some money right now. And if you're interested, please swing by there and check out all of their good stuff. I believe someone special has a birthday tomorrow, Kev.
Yes, it's my youngest lad, Kyle's birthday tomorrow.
Yes.
So 19, I can't believe it. So 19
Kev.
years old. Sophie, I remember when he fit in my arm here, and now he fit me in his arm. The other way around. Incredible.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, bless Kyle, wishing him lots of good health and happiness and great adventures for the year ahead and beyond. Enjoy hanging out tomorrow. Kev won't be on tomorrow night, but I will be returning. Kevin says on Thursday this week as well. We're switching things up and mixing them up a little bit. We've got some great shows lined up as always coming from HSHQ. Some superb content. Keep checking the community page on YouTube and of course our Twitter page as well. I am not going to talk about the other game that happened last night. I refuse to. I've seen enough pictures and videos, and that's all I'm going to say on that. So please stop asking me. Okay. I can't do it.
Yeah. Don't do it.
Nope, not going to do it.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Lots of love coming in for Kyle.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And everyone's kind of saying you look younger as well. And by the way, Don One was wondering if you'd lost weight because you're looking like the lean, mean fighting machine like you always are.
Well, actually, I've changed my training regime as well. So it's a lot more intense at the moment. So I tend to do that. Don't just stick to the same training regime. You go more intense and you do different things. So I'm on a early intense one at the moment. So
all right, you're going to have to give me some more tips. Yeah.
You tips? You joking, aren't you?
Yeah, totes.
You're fit as a fiddle, you.
I need to get my endurance up, Kev. You know,
Okay.
Every now and again, the endurance is like, crikey. I just went to the mailbox and I'm out of breath. What's happening there? Something wrong.
No. Well,
that's probably after a party weekend.
You definitely need a little bit. Like I say, there's burpees, Sophie, and there's some other stuff that you need to do. You'll be fine.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, Kev's going to take us out. Brilliant show tonight. And guess what, Gooners? I did it for you all. I did it for the Gooner Nation. We sent the referee off, and it was a beautiful feeling, Super Kev.
And listen, thanks to the ref for coming on. But get off! Get off! Get off! I've always wanted to send the ref off, so always. Could you imagine? Always wanted to send him off. And I'm so pleased you give him 2 yellows. Get him off. Anyway, squaddies, thanks for joining us yet again. You're the constant in here. The squaddies community. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, have an absolutely fantastic week. Make sure you keep it with us. Thanks for joining us. Hit the like button. And you know what's next, squaddies? At ease, squaddies.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.